Hey guys, this is a Jaeger task guide for the Survivalist Path Cold-Blooded. For this task, you will have to eliminate 2 PMCs with headshots while suffering from the Tremor effect. Now, the Tremor effect is primarily caused as a result of pain, which your PMC can experience from a fractured limb or dehydration, but it can also be as a result of a side effect of certain medication or consumables. And one of the most important things to know for this task is that you can use painkillers to remove the visual disturbances of being under the pain and or tremor effects, so that this way you won't have to deal with the screen blurring and coming in and out of focus, which can be very distracting and also hinder you from lining up headshots, especially if from a distance. And another thing that I did want to quickly mention is that this is currently a dead-end task that's not required for Kappa at the time that I am making this video, so there is going to be no need to rush or prioritize getting this particular task done. And that also means that realistically you can just let it complete naturally over time from playing. However, if you did want to prioritize getting it done for the Jaeger Rep or any other reason in particular, then Factory is going to end up being your best bet. Now, some of the things that I have seen suggested for this task are to use a Zagustin Stim, which will give you a tremor, but the issue with this method is that the tremor only lasts for 40 seconds total, and that's going to be after a 170-second delay from popping the Stim. So with that delay, it will be very difficult to time it correctly in order to get the most bang for your buck from using this Stim. Another option that I've seen suggested was by using vodka, which also causes tremors, but this time it will last for 120 seconds, but again, there is going to be a significant delay being 255 seconds. So again, it will be difficult to time, and after 4.5 minutes, most of the PvP on Factory is typically already over. So unless you really wanted to attempt to go for the Drunken Master achievement at the same time, then I wouldn't really recommend this way either. Now, in my opinion, the best option to force the tremor effect without breaking a limb or dehydrating yourself is going to be by using an SJ9 Stim, which will give you the tremor effect for 420 seconds or 7 minutes, and it will start after only a 6-second delay from popping the Stim, which is going to be beneficial in a factory raid and much easier to time correctly to get yourself into the action before it's all over. Now, the drawback to this Stim is the rarity of actually finding it in raid, which means that unless you do frequently go to labs and hit the Stim spawns, then you will likely have to just buy it from the flea market to use it, and it does typically cost around 60,000 rubles for each use, so just be aware of that. Now, your other option that won't include you having to buy or bring anything into a raid is to have your PMC incur the pain effect. Now, you can do this from having a broken arm or leg, and even though breaking a leg is going to be much easier to accomplish since you can self-inflict one even as a solo player, as you can just jump off anything elevated during or at the end of a raid. But just know that this will end up being more of a handicap to your gameplay, since even if you do pop a painkiller, your mobility will still be hindered, and it will also cause your PMC to be overly loud with running or jumping, which can give your position away, and it will also cause you to take damage while running. So for this reason, I would recommend using or going for an arm break instead, even though it can be a little bit more challenging to achieve, especially if you are solo. So the ways that you can get a broken arm other than an AI scav sniping your arm from 150 meters away with an iron sight Taz are that if you are in a duo, you can get your teammate to shoot you in the arm until you do happen to get a fracture. And then once you have extracted, then you do want to bypass the therapist healing screen and manually heal by using only a Salewa, IFAC, AFAC, or AI2 from your stash, basically anything that doesn't heal fractures, so do not use a Grizzly. Or if you do insist on using the therapist heal screen, then just make sure that you deselect the fracture and just heal the rest. Now, another thing to remember is that if your arm is blacked out during a raid, then do not repair it with a Surv 12, only use a CMS, as the Surv 12 will also heal the fracture while also restoring the limb itself. Now, in patch 13, BSG did introduce another way that you can actually break your arm, and even though that wasn't the intention, they did add the gym into our hideouts, which if you do have it built up, then it's not only a way to level up your strength and endurance, but ironically can also be a way for solo players to self-inflict an arm fracture. So once you have built the gym up, then you can use it and continue to purposely fail your reps, and eventually you will end up breaking an arm, and then basically you just don't want to heal it and load into a raid. Now, I do also have an image from the wiki on the screen right now that does show the differences depending on which arm that you do fracture. So broken arm on your right side will affect your gun handling, like reloading, drawing your weapon, and also ADS speed by taking 67% longer, and it will also affect you looting by making it 50% slower. Whereas the left arm fracture will affect the same things, but instead reverse the effects, meaning that your gun handling will only be 50% slower, but your looting will in turn be 67% slower with a fracture on this side. So if you did want to get all technical and nerd out, then a fracture on the left side is going to be slightly better for PvP related things, but this doesn't always matter since you can just point fire your weapon to mostly negate this anyway. And just so that you guys know, if you do go into a raid with a fracture or even dehydrated, just be aware that the tremor effect is caused by 45 seconds of untreated pain, so it will likely take some time from the start of each raid for the tremor symbol to appear, which means that if you did spawn in and W key into the action and smoke a PMC within 10 seconds of a factory raid, Even if it is a headshot, it will likely not count until the Tremor indicator logo is active on your PMC's health tab. And as for the dehydration method, this is pretty self-explanatory, but basically you guys can get yourself dehydrated in any way that you do want to. You can load into a raid already dehydrated, or once you do load in, then you can drink a jar of Devil Dog Mayo or 2 cans of condensed milk to fully dehydrate yourself, and then wait until you do incur the pain effect. And just so you guys know, you can use any gun and mod it with any attachments that you do want, and you can also wear any gear that you do prefer or have lying around in your stash as well, so that this way you do have the option of working on other tasks at the same time as you do attempt this one. Now, as mentioned earlier, I did find the best way to do this task was to go to factory, and you could bring in a shotgun and just point fire and aim high with a multi-pellet shell like Magnum Buck or Flechette. That way, if any pellets do end up connecting with their head or face, then you will get a kill to count towards this task. Or another option is that some people do like to take in an automatic weapon that is low penetration and high flesh damage, and then they just spray people's center mass so that the armor will eat all the rounds until the gun's natural recoil does move up to their head for that one tap. That is obviously provided that they aren't using a good helmet or face shield. Using this low penetration ammo will give you a buffer with the horrible server desync, where I have had some clear headshots on my end register as thorax shots by the game. But at the end of the day, it is totally up to you guys in whatever way that you are more comfortable with and whichever method that you find the most effective to complete this task. One last thing to mention is that after each raid that you don't manage to complete this task, whether you end up dying or whether you just don't run into any PMCs, just remember to continue deselecting to heal the fracture or manually heal from your stash with anything but a grizzly. This way you will ensure that you don't accidentally fix the fracture if that's the route that you want to go. So hopefully you guys found this guide useful and it does help you to complete this task. Thank you guys for checking out my guide on this, and hopefully you have a fantastic rest of your day.